Well, Todd, we just finished doing the television show Stories That Matter, and thank you for doing that. It's a good program. But I want to talk to you a little about your recording music and your artist, because that was first it was a skill that was given to you, and I know your dad had that skill and shared it with the family, and you use that also in your ministry work. Tell me about it.
I actually began as a recording artist in 2001. Of course, I've been singing all my life and went to college and studied music and majored in voice and all of that world, most of that world was very performance oriented and sing the high note and harmonize and so forth. But I left there thinking I was moving to Nashville. I had a couple of offers with some groups there, but something was tugging me more in the area of worship than performance. And I knew from my own parents and my own upbringing the use of your gift is for God's purposes and not your own. But it was put to the test when there were lots of opportunities to just pursue this for myself and realizing that God had something different planned. So that's always been a part of my heart, and I've had plenty of opportunities to perform, for conventions and National Day of Prayer events and conferences and entertainment types of things in Branson and so forth. But that's just not my heart. It's not what I believe is the reason God gave me whatever gifts He's given me.
Do you sing in some of the events that you do, like the men's retreat or I shouldn't say men's retreat, maybe the couples retreat? Do you do that? Do you sing?
I do once in a while. I actually have some songs that I've recorded that speak very well to the themes of my conferences. But in 2001, I launched my own ministry, and I went to Nashville and I recorded, and I thought that's all I would do. But God had already been working in my heart in terms of my gifts, my spiritual gifts and my passion. And I felt like I was supposed to explore that more, to really understand the man that God was calling me to be. And it was not somebody that was on a stage just presenting. It was a man intricately involved in the life of people. And so I made the mistake of thinking, Doug, that God could only use us in something we're skilled in, we're educated for, we're talented in, and others like. I used that criteria, and that's why I thought coming out of college that I would do nothing but sing. Little did I know that God's vision and His plan for all of us, not just me, was to use my life in a way that would bring so much greater fulfillment and challenge me, because I had to trust in Him. One of those areas was becoming a worship pastor. In 1985, I guess it was, I was just coming out of Anderson University, and I thought I would just be singing the rest of my life. And the Lord began tugging at me. I want you to serve me in the local church. And I came kicking and screaming. I did not want Reverend in front of my name. My dad had been a pastor. I just thought I was going to be walking a different path. And really, I was not into it. I was not open to it. And the Lord just canceled all opportunities around, so this was the only way I would be able to use the music that God had given me. And little did I know it would become my calling. And I was singing in Branson with my family, the Braschler Music Show, in 1987, and I was reading Chuck Swindoll's book, Living Above the Level of Mediocrity. Have you ever heard of it or read it?
No, I haven't read it.
Oh my goodness. It should be on the top 5 list of anybody who is endeavoring to really follow God's will. Living Above the Level of Mediocrity by Chuck Swindoll. I gave it to each of my sons to read. It was so profound in my life. I'm riding on the tour bus when we would travel during the winters, and I'm reading this book in a little pin light in my bunk on this travel bus as we toured the country as the music show. And God began to speak to me about how He wanted to use me, and how just settling to be a singer alone would be settling for mediocrity. That He had so much more He wanted to do and accomplish through my life. And I didn't see myself that way at all as somebody that would do something like profound or even being a pastor. I didn't see myself that way at all. And the more I read and the more I listened and the more I prayed, I could not deny it. I could not get away from it. And I followed a call into the ministry, and I literally did not really know anything of what I was doing. I had never spoken in front of people. I'd only sung. If you wanted me to sing the announcements, I'll take that. But I had never done anything like this. And the Lord made it so crystal clear this is where I was supposed to be. And so even today now, 20, 30 years later, my heart when it comes to music is worship. I agree, I believe that these two are separate entities. That just because you're singing music doesn't mean you're involved in worshiping God. And just because you want to worship God doesn't mean you need to include music. And very often I find these two intermingled as one. In fact, my title was Music and Worship Pastor. But those are two completely different responsibilities. When I resigned from the show, my mother handed me a card with advice. It had a quote on it from Thomas Edison that said, "Blessed is he who hustles while he waits." Thomas Edison. I said, "Mom, what does this mean?" She said, "Well, I don't know if Thomas Edison was a believer or not, but I believe what he wrote is of spiritual significance." I said, "How so?" She said, "I believe that God answers our greatest questions when He sees us being diligent and preparing with the lesser issues. Hustling while you're waiting." So you're praying, "God, show me the direction and the use of my life." And God is saying, "How can you get ready so when I answer that question, you're ready for the answer?" And so I spent the next year just trying to see and ask the Lord, how do I prepare to be a worship pastor? I've never done this before. I don't know what this is like. And that set in motion the next 13 years of serving as a worship pastor in a church, which really has positioned my heart as an artist now, that if I'm going to be a part of a service or be a part of a convention or a retreat, vocally, musically, it must be centered around opportunities to worship, or you just need to hire somebody else. I just don't have a heart to perform. I don't have a heart for anything other than using what God has given me to lead people to a deeper understanding, a deeper walk with God than what they currently have.